Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to look at some of the FUDs that I've been seeing about Qubic in the last few weeks and see what FUD is true, what learnings we can take from some of the FUD, and where Qubic might be going wrong and where it might be going right. We'll dive into it and see what we can answer and what we can't answer. I'm also going to just share some of the details about the CFB token drop. Okay, so guys, to begin with, let's look at the CFB token airdrop. Some of you have been asking for the details on this. So the CFB token, you can find all the details on Twitter by going to @CFB token, this account here. And you can find the details for yourself there. But it's really simple. So you can just check your address, your wallet address, to see how many CFB you'll receive, and then you've got to pay for the transaction fee for the airdrop, which is 1 million Q, which is about, I think, $5 now. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's around $5 right now it costs. And you just send them to this address here, and then you have to do that by the 31st of May, noontime. But if you're holding your Qubic on SafeTrade, then that's no problems. You don't need to do anything. And then once you've sent that million, the CFP will be distributed to addresses on the 1st of June. I don't know if you should do this. This is the first meme coin that's going to be launched on Qubic. I mean, it's only cost about $5 right now, so I went for it. I wanted to just kind of work out in the community, see what I can do, and it could be really profitable. Who knows? But I'm just going to do it to support the community anyway, and you guys can decide for yourself if you want to do it. But just go to this page first of all and see if your web wallet address is actually on the list, so that you can claim the coin. And if you're on SafeTrade, you've got nothing to do. Then SafeTrade will handle it for you, and you don't need to pay anything either. Okay, so moving on then to some of the FUDs that I've been seeing lately, even some FUD from myself as well. And I think, if any of you guys don't know what FUD is, just people that are new, it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt about projects. And it's often viewed as a negative thing, and it can be a negative thing, definitely for price. But then, for me, FUD can be FUD that doesn't make sense. But then there can be FUD that's asking legitimate questions, and when you can give legitimate answers, it's a learning experience for everyone. You're going to see both types of FUD here. It's FUD that's just untrue, and you're going to see FUD that answers questions. So the first one was a bit of FUD that I just put out there myself because it just came to me here. So I said this a few weeks ago, but I reached out to Sergey Ivancheglo on Twitter or X. I said, a really morbid question for you here, but I think it's an important one. You are the brains behind Qubic, and you seem to be the main driving force. Without you, I guess that Agart can't happen. So what happens if something happens to you? God forbid, what if you were to die? Which I know is a morbid thing to say. But basically I was saying, you are a single point of failure for the project at this point. Would Qubic and Agart survive without you? And basically Come From Beyond responded back, Qubic development is already led by others. I just add some features, not even aware of many things that happen in the core. Agart idea is disseminated and pretty simple for some AI specialists to continue development of. More will be shared after founding the Temple of AI. So a really promising answer from Sergey Ivancheglo. Look, I basically knew that when it came to the Qubic network, it's already been developed, so it's out there. It works as it works, and people can just develop on it now. So it doesn't really matter if Sergey Ivancheglo is around for that. But Agart, he's still the brains behind. I think he gives kind of a double answer here. He said that it's disseminated and pretty simple for some AI specialists to continue development of. But then he does go on to say that more will be shared after founding the Temple of AI, which is Agart. So I guess in a way he's saying that people can develop it from here. But then I guess also without Sergey Ivancheglo, it's not going to have, it's probably not going to have the sense of direction that he wants. But this is an important thing. Qubic, even without Agard, is a revolutionary development, and that's, or it appears to be, again, I don't know 100%, but it appears to be a revolutionary development that's already developed and anyone can develop on right now. So Sergey Ivancheglo isn't a single point of failure, but obviously if he died in the morning, you'd see the price of Qubic fall pretty drastically, pretty quick, and then probably recover over time, but maybe not recover to the same levels. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting question to ask him. Then someone asked a question here, very legitimate question as well. They just said, but the developer talking about price is a red flag, at least for me, no offense. And they were just referring to Sergey Ivancheglo, that he's talked about the potential price of Qubic before. Now, I had issues with that in the past myself, but then I came to a realization that I've shared on X and in past videos that Sergey Ivancheglo, as he said here, it's already so decentralized, this project, and it's open source and it's been given to the community. So Sergey Ivancheglo isn't the owner or lead developer for this project anymore. There's many, many people developing on this project right now. You or I can develop on this project right now. Me as a Qubic holder and someone who's making content about Qubic, I'm as much what would you say, as much a part of the community as Sergey Ivancheglo is. Of course, because he's the creator, he's probably the most influential voice when it comes to Qubic. But there is other voices that are already becoming close to as influential, and I'll share some of those with you later in this video. But basically, the whole point is that from a regulatory point of view, Sergey Ivancheglo talking about price is the same as you or I talking about price. It's not going to be a regulation issue. So it's only positive when he talks about price in a positive fashion. Some people might feel slimy or not feel good about people talking about price, but that's the whole name of this game. So that's nothing to worry about. There's no FUD there, no reason to have FUD there when it comes to Ivancheglo talking about price. So next then, so this person said, I've covered this topic so many times, I don't want to cover it in big detail, but they just said, what's your thoughts regarding tokenomics? The numbers are huge. I see this popping up on comments in my videos on X all the time. You just need to do a little bit of research now because there's a lot of information out there. But Qubic appears to have huge numbers, but it doesn't really, because one Qubic is not divisible by it can't be divided into smaller parts. While one Bitcoin can be divided into Satoshis, there's 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin, and then there's 21 million Bitcoin. So then the way to look at that is if you take 21 million Bitcoin and multiply it by 100 million Satoshis, you get 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis overall. That's the most that can exist. While with Qubic, the most that can exist is 1 quadrillion Qubic. So basically, 1 Qubic is equal to 2.1 Satoshis. But then the bigger deal of this is that Qubic actually is expected to just level out at, I put in 100 million here, that's silly of me, but I meant to say 100 trillion. So 100 trillion is where Qubic's expected to level out. So it's never expected to even reach 1 quadrillion Qubic. And the reason for that is because there's a burning mechanism in Qubic. So the Qubic tokenomics are very, very strong and very powerful. And with that burning mechanism, you're not going to see huge inflation. And the whole most important thing is it doesn't really matter how many Qubic exist, because if you can buy, for €1,000, if you could buy, well, right now for about $5,000, you can buy around 1 billion Qubic. But for that, you can't even buy 1 Bitcoin. So it doesn't really matter. It's just the ratio of the coin that you're buying. The thing you should be worried about is inflation of crypto. And with burns, Qubic is going to be less inflationary than Bitcoin and less inflationary than most cryptos out there, and possibly even become slightly deflationary. So yeah, that one I just recommend just keep looking into it. If you've got that question about tokenomics, look into it yourself, and you're going to realize the tokenomics are actually really, really good for Qubic. So next then, so this person came up a few weeks ago, and they were spreading lots of FUD on everyone who's posting about Qubic, and then going into the Qubic Discord and posting FUD. Now, I chatted with this person and tried to have a reasonable conversation, and they seemed like a reasonable person. I know that they're a bit of a cas maxi, but they also said that they were invested in Qubic. I'm not sure is that 100% true, but they seemed reasonable and seemed nice. So I don't think that they from my point of view, I'm not sure what their motivations were, but they seemed friendly. So I don't think they were necessarily trying to FUD Qubic. They were just asking questions. So now these questions are a bit confusing, and that was part of the problem. But basically what they said here is, after reading Qubic's new white paper, I have some questions for Qubician as follows. The first is, and you can kind of guess that probably English isn't their first language by their name and just some of the way they've written this. The first is the concept of the spectrum. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's the quorum and the spectrum are huge parts of how Qubic works, but I don't understand them in detail, but they're probably simpler than this person is making out, or simpler than I quite understand. And I might try and dig into it more, but I'm just not super technical, so it's hard for me to understand in detail. But they said, first concept of spectrum. This is a type of ledger in Qubic. It is different from the ledger on the blockchain. So this is true. The problem is how this ledger is executed so that Qubic is truly decentralized as claimed. Normally, the ledger will be a blockchain to ensure decentralization. So Spectrum is also a type of blockchain, or what? So Spectrum is run and decentralized by the quorum, and this is explained in some of the screenshots that I'll show you in a minute. But basically, the Spectrum is just the quorum decentralized, and I'll share some of the screenshots in a minute that explain it better than I ever will. So that's an easy answer. Now, this one stumped me because I don't really understand some of this. But the second is the concept of the arbitrator. This is an undefined entity in the network, but plays a very important role. The arbitrator can set parameters for the Q mining and accumulation algorithm that underperforming computers do not receive. So basically, the Qubic network is made up of computers who make up the quorum, and then they're oversaw by an arbitrator, and the arbitrator ensures fairness and a fair approach from the computers. I know it's a bit technical, I don't understand in detail, but that's important anyway. But anyway, this is the issue that this person was having. So they said, suppose that someone can control this arbitrator, then they'll set the mining algorithm that computers cannot achieve optimal results. Therefore, I will receive Q through arbitrator. So they're saying that if they controlled it, they'd receive Q through the arbitrator. Q that I get this according to the document is unusable, but how to check that? So basically, is any Q that's released or inflates every month, so 1 trillion Q, if it doesn't go to a computer for some reason, that computer is spread to the arbitrator, and then apparently, according to this person, it's unusable after that. And what they're asking is, if this blockchain becomes undecentralized, or if Qubic becomes undecentralized and someone gets control of the arbitrator, then can they start just stealing Q from everyone, or Qubic from all the miners, by changing the algorithm? And I think I think this question is really overcomplicating something that's really simple, but I'll leave that to some of the pictures that I'll show you in a minute, explaining the quorum in a little bit more detail. And then they also just said that, and I think I just wanted to put this note in here to show you that some of their questions were just, I'm not saying they're nonsense, but nonsensical. I just want to say they don't make a lot of sense. So they just said here that artificial intelligence is divided into 3 types: weak AI, artificial general intelligence, and super intelligence AI. Qubic only does AI type training as weak AI. In addition, Qubic has a lot of problems in how it works, signs of a scam project. Now, I have a real issue when they start saying signs of a scam project, because there's no real signs of a scam project and they're not really pointing them out here. And then I've got a problem with this first sentence, is it just doesn't make sense, because they said that, there's 3 types of AI: weak AI, artificial general intelligence, and super intelligence AI. And then they go on to say that, Qubic only does weak AI, or only traces weak AI. The thing is, there's artificial general intelligence doesn't exist yet, and super intelligence AI most definitely does not exist yet. The goal of Qubic and the goal of massive companies like Amazon, Google, OpenAI, Meta, they're all working trying to develop an artificial general intelligence. And an artificial general intelligence is artificial intelligence that's basically indistinguishable from a human in terms of intelligence, creativity, abstract thinking, stuff like that. We're not there yet. We're not even close to there. Even though, OpenAI has made some major developments recently, it's nowhere near an intelligent artificial system. And then a super intelligent AI, I mean, we're talking about something that's, artificial general intelligence, we're talking about something that's probably 5 or 10 years away. Hopefully, could be longer than that. A super intelligent AI, we're talking about then when artificial general intelligence can train itself and we get to something that is smarter than the whole humanity combined. So, this person saying that it's a bad thing that Qubic is working on weak AI. Everything is working on weak AI. There is nothing better than weak AI right now. So I just want to make a point that some of the points this person was making were nonsensical, not nonsense, just nonsensical. It didn't make sense, is what I'm saying. So anyway, then we looked just some of the responses based on the quorum and how it's decentralized. So Come From Beyond, Sergei Ivancheglo said quorum is 0.67 of total number of participants. So 600, and I just want to reiterate here, I don't understand this stuff in detail, and I don't feel like you really, really, really need to, unless you're some technical whiz. I mean, with all crypto technology and all technology in general, you've got to have a bit of trust that the guys know what they're talking about. And if there's major gaps there, then you got to worry about those major gaps. But don't worry if this doesn't make complete sense to you. I think it's actually really simple. I do think I basically understand it, but it's so simple. It's basically straight in front of your eyes. But I just, I've never programmed anything like this, so I just have to take their word on this, that this is how things work. But anyway, the quorum is what makes up Qubic and what decentralizes it. So 676 computers equivalent to 676 is 0.67. So 1,008 rounded down participants from an unbounded set. So they're talking about the computers. So using your way to measure decentralization as limit on the number of computers who receive rewards, let's look at how many computers in Bitcoin receive rewards during the same period as Qubic, 1 week. With 1 block per 10 minutes, we get 60 divided by 10 equals 6 blocks per hour. This is 6 multiplied by 24 equals 144 blocks per day, or 144 by 7 is 1,008 blocks per week. So comparing 1,008 and 1,008, we see that Qubic and Bitcoin have identical decentralization quotients according to your definition. And this assumes that in Bitcoin, no miner receives reward more than once per week. Thank you for helping us demonstrate that Qubic is not less decentralized than Bitcoin. Probably because, many miners receive more than one reward per week. Basically what they're saying, Sergei Ivancheglo is saying here, is that Qubic is more decentralized than Bitcoin. As you can see, the way the numbers work out, this isn't coincidence. This was planned, that they plan to make Qubic exactly as decentralized as Bitcoin, if not more decentralized, which shows that Qubic solves the trilemma. It just doesn't solve the blockchain trilemma because it isn't a blockchain. So, don't overthink that. It's actually really simple what he's saying there. But again, as someone that isn't super technical, I can't tell you that that's 100% true what he said. I just have to take him on his word that this is how Qubic works. So then this Wall No High is actually the person here, and they were just asking questions in the Discord, and they asked just asking again with more questions on things, and Q Silver just said, if there are any changes to the balances that do not follow the rules, then the hashes will not match. If you do not understand this level of tech, this will be difficult. Tick leader cannot just make any change they want. They only propose for a vote, and there needs to be a quorum that accepts it. And then he just said, if you change one bit in the spectrum, the hash will change and everybody will detect it before they vote on it and they will reject it. And then he went down here to say, once tick has been voted on and a quorum is established, 2/3 voted for, it is final, immutable, no small reorgs, no 51% attack, no double spends, so it's much more stable than any blockchain. Again, I won't go into detail on this because, again, I'm just going with faith on what they're saying. I don't understand this stuff in detail, but the point they're basically making is everything here about arbitrators taking over the blockchain just won't happen and couldn't happen. And then he goes into more details on it here. He just says, we already covered the possibility of reorging the chain, double spends, 51% attack, hash rate attacks, instant finality is a beautiful thing. This stuff can't happen because instant finality happens on the Qubic spectrum, or the Qubic chain is, or what would you call it? Qubic network is basically what Q Silver is saying here. We said, even in a case where 2/3 of computers are corrupted by an evil mastermind who spends tens of millions of dollars. Really important point that he's making here, and I think he made it earlier in the chat, but he's saying that that someone would need tens of millions of dollars to corrupt 2/3 of computers, because to become a computer in Qubic quorum is going to cost you a lot of money. It's not cheap to do that. So someone would need to spend tens of millions of dollars to corrupt the quorum, and they have to be an evil mastermind, as said. As soon as they try to fiddle with Spectrum, they're caught with cryptographic proof and then replaced. So they'll just spend $10 million for nothing, or tens of millions of dollars. Effect on Qubic is that ticks would stop for a while. Quite a disappointing result after spending tens of millions on mining to get the 451 computer spots. When I say Qubic is technically revolutionary, I mean that in a real sense. It is as if some AI from the future solved all the problems with blockchains and then came back to us to make Qubic. So he's basically saying here, I've got to take his word on this again because I don't understand all the issues there with blockchains. But Q Silver is saying here, all the issues and problems that have ever existed with blockchains are solved by Qubic. He then said Qubic is not completed yet, and there are certainly missing functionality, but these are minor issues with solutions. Existing blockchains have fundamental issues which cannot be solved without radical redesign. Maybe they'll fork Qubic. And then he went on to say, if malicious computers are detected by arbitrator, they will be removed and replaced with honest ones. Of course, if the attacker has 2/3 of computers and they use an evil arbitrator, then we get a chain split. Community would need to decide whether to follow the evil chain or the original one. Clearly, with cryptographic proof of theft, the evil chain would not be followed by many at all. He's basically saying in the worst case scenario, if the impossible happens that someone spent tens of millions to take over control of all computers and managed then to corrupt the arbitrator, the chain would split then, and people would just have to decide which Qubic chain to follow. So again, because the cryptographic proof of meddling with the system, people just could follow the one that isn't the evil chain anymore. Okay, so then if we went on to here, okay, this is just signs of silly FUD. So this person was just calling CFB, con artists, because they were saying like QX would launch. For a few weeks it got delayed. Basically, Sergey Ivanchenko said that it'll be launching next Wednesday, and it didn't launch. And the reason was just because they're working out bugs. I mean, that happens, and it's just stupid that I even need to say that to people, that they don't seem to get that. But QX did launch, but it launched as a command line interface. They're working on the user interface right now, so you can only use QX in the command line interface. So then this guy, and this is my favorite footer on X, because he's just funny. He or she, they're just funny because they have a whole account with like 50 followers dedicated to all day FUDing Qubic, and I just wind them up from time to time. If I see they're losing, things are going well for Qubic, I don't see them posting, I'll just comment at them just to get them going again, and they will literally post on everything that I put out then for days on end. But they were calling me out every day for a week there and just saying, is QX a DEX a girls only club? This liar says it launched, calls out others for truth. Can anyone point X to the DEX, or are boys not allowed? CFB, I won't even say the rest. basically he was saying that QX doesn't exist because he couldn't find it. And what I kept responding to him for a while was saying it's only available in command line interface. The user interface has been worked on now, should be available in the next couple of months, where you've actually got a clean user interface that you can work on. The reason that most of or all of Qubic works in the command line interface is because it works straight out of RAM, which is what makes it so quick and so revolutionary. Anyway, on from that. So then Q Silver, just really interesting points. People were asking him about some other crypto projects out there, and Space Mesh was one of them, which is a really promising project. And it sounds like a good project, but he just said, why bother? Why are people creating these projects? What does it actually do other than to be able to send coins? So the 25,000 blockchain that's all sending coins in some clever new way. Anyway, my analysis is based on how interesting it is from a tech angle, not how well it will do in ROI. Maybe there's good triangles, no idea, but reading the protocol above, it seems a clever combination of what existed before. Nothing wrong with that, and maybe it is the same as CAS in that respect. Just nothing totally revolutionary like Qubic. Interesting point. What he's saying is that Space Mesh, CAS, all these projects can increase in value a lot. He's not putting that down, but what he's saying is that so many of these projects are just finding another way to send coins without being truly revolutionary, and he's saying that Qubic is completely revolutionary and far beyond any of those blockchains. I just thought that was an interesting point to share. And then this guy, Crypto Jesus, a lot of people do not like this guy. I don't mind him on X, but just this is a real point that I want to share with you. Is this was such an example of a person who's been posting about Qubic for months and months and months, and it turns out that they don't understand even the most fundamental aspect of Qubic. And not only that, they say that they're invested in Qubic, but it seems like they're a CAS maxi and they're trying to FUD Qubic a bit. But basically, anyway, Sergey Ivanchenko said, Agar's main goal is to discover a new paradigm allowing to create a true AI. I've just seen the wireframe of this paradigm, and I've realized artificial intelligence will not be created. It will emerge with the help of Qubic miners. So, okay, whatever you think about that point. But anyway, this is what Crypto Jesus said. This point is the definition of word salad. AI will not emerge because people mine Qubic. Does CFB really think mining a coin will create singularity? I have no words. I'm sure the crypto community will make the price go up, but just wow, I can't. Sorry. I read that and I actually thought just wow, sorry as well, because I've heard this person, talk about Qubic for ages, and then I read that and I was like, oh, they don't understand Qubic at all. So basically, I just made a post about it then and I said not a dig at this account in particular. Of course, that pissed them off straight away anyway, but everyone makes mistakes, but I really didn't want to be making a dig at the count, but I just wanted to use them as an example. But I just said then, but I've noticed a lot of Qubic commenters don't understand even the basics of how Qubic works, or have a clear understanding of what artificial general intelligence or the technological singularity are. The miner's energy is used to train artificial intelligence. Qubic uses the miner's CPU power rather than GPU, so it is very efficient. So really important there is this guy just thinks that, he's like, how would mining coin create AI? He was thinking that Ivanchenko was crazy, but clearly what Ivanchenko was saying is that the mining power is used to train AI, and that's where artificial intelligence will emerge from. Then I went on to say, it, for example, is training AI on tasks like recognizing objects and language models. The emergence that CFB is discussing comes from all these completed AI tasks combining in artificial neural networks. The system then trains itself in something called teach the teacher. What he means is that this intelligence will emerge from this model over time rather than be forced out of it. Qubic currently has over 500,000 miners providing their computational power to the network. I guess CFB, so Sergey Ivanchenko, was probably impressed by OpenAI's GPT-4 display yesterday and realizes how close we are getting to an artificial general intelligence. GPT-4 just needs to be infused with more learning and to be able to draw on real-world events easier. With the huge power of the Qubic network and the oracles providing access to real-world data, as well as it being open source, means there is a high chance that Qubic could be used by OpenAI or other major tech companies, because Qubic can provide much more computational power than these companies can source by themselves. And then I just went on to say that the singularity is the point where artificial general intelligence will have trained and upgraded itself iteratively so many times that it will have grown so far beyond human intelligence that humans won't even be able to conceive of it or of the world during that time. The technological singularity name is derived from the name of the black hole singularity, which is the point where physics as we know it breaks down. The singularity is probably at least 20 years away, if it will ever happen. It is important to understand at least above if discussing Qubic, because, he said, mining a coin will create the singularity, and I just think I'm not sure how much he even understands what the singularity is here. This guy commented back then, he didn't take this well. He just really commented on some of the points that went, I made up here and brought racism into it for some reason, but didn't comment on the rest of what I said. So it just showed he wasn't really that interested in having an interesting conversation about Qubic and learning together about it. I still, I've got no problems with him. I still follow his page, and he's definitely got interesting points on CAS. But the point that I want to make here is that, a lot of people that you're listening to talk about projects and FUDing projects, they haven't got a clue about the projects. They don't know anything about them. So, really look and see, does that person understand the project before you start listening to the FUD that they're spreading. Right, this week, guys, I'll share you more details on more things that have been happening in the Qubic community. For any of you guys that want to understand about Qubic tokenomics, there's a video popping up on screen now. Check that out, and I'll see you all on the outside.